My grandfather used to sit on the porch every evening, a chipped mug of chicory coffee in his gnarled hands, watching the river bend like it was a snake coiled in the grass. He'd always say the same thing. "You don't swim in that river, Mason. You don't even dip your toes." As a kid, I thought he was being dramatic. The Oak Ridge River was quiet, slow, almost boring. Its muddy banks were lined with reeds and moss-covered stones, and dragonflies danced across the surface in the summer heat. It didn't look dangerous, just old. But Grandpa would lean closer, his voice low and flat, and say, "It don't take to strangers. And lately, it don't even take to family." I never knew what he meant. Not until last week. Not until I came back to bury him. After the funeral, I stayed in his cabin for a few days, just to settle his affairs, maybe clear my head. The place hadn't changed since I was a kid. Same green-checkered tablecloth. Same crooked clock that always blinked 12 o'clock. Even the porch swing creaked with the same rhythm, like it had a pulse. But inside the quiet, something felt off. The air had weight to it. Thick with humidity, yes, but also with a kind of watching. The kind of feeling you get when you're the last person in a dark theater and the credits have stopped rolling. His journal was the first thing I found. Tucked in a drawer, leather-bound, pages brittle with time. The entries were sparse, but the dates jumped erratically. July 12th, saw the ripple again. Same spot as 1968. Nothing above water, but I could feel it watching. Can't be coincidence. October 2nd, the fish came back wrong. Pale and shriveled, like they'd been cooked from the inside. I buried them behind the shed. Don't want them near the river again. April 9th, it mimicked her voice. I know it did. Grace has been gone 5 years. I'm not crazy. I closed the book and felt the cabin tighten around me. I wanted to leave. Go back to the city. Forget the river and its slow-moving secrets. But then the knock came. Not at the door. At the window. And no one should have been out there. Not at 2:13 in the morning. Not standing in the river with my face. I didn't open the door. I just stood there frozen, staring through the curtain. The moon was full, casting a silver light across the water. The figure, my double, just stood there, submerged up to the chest in the river. It didn't blink. Didn't move. Just raised one hand and waved. When I dared to check again, it was gone. No wet footprints on the porch. No ripples in the water. Nothing. But on the windowsill, where the condensation had fogged the glass, someone had written something with their finger from the outside. "Hi, Grandpa." The next morning I found the fish. A dozen of them, laid out in a neat row on the porch like some kind of offering. All pale. All headless. I buried them behind the shed, just like Grandpa did. That evening, the porch swing started moving on its own. Just a soft back and forth, like someone unseen was sitting there with coffee in hand. I lit a cigarette and sat beside it. I didn't know what else to do. And that's when I saw it again. Just downriver, near the bend. A shape. Tall. Thin. Moving against the current. Upright. Walking. It's been 3 nights now. Every night, it comes a little closer to the cabin. It doesn't always look like me. Sometimes it looks like Grandpa. Sometimes it wears a face I don't recognize. A woman with empty sockets for eyes. Sometimes it crawls. Sometimes it swims. But always, it comes from the river. And I think it's trying to remember how to be human. I didn't sleep much after that second night. Instead, I kept Grandpa's shotgun by the front door, though I wasn't sure what it would even do against something that came out of a river wearing my face. The shells rattled like bones every time I picked it up. That morning, I went into town to clear my head. Oak Ridge was smaller than I remembered. One gas station, a bait shop, a diner that still served watery coffee and day-old grits. I asked the waitress if she remembered my grandfather. She looked up from her notepad with a nervous smile. "You mean Henry?" "Sure. Sat in that back booth every Thursday for 20 years. Never said much. Always paid in coins." When I asked her if she ever heard him talk about the river, she froze. Her fingers went stiff around her pen. The smile disappeared. "I wouldn't go poking into that kind of thing," she said. "Henry was a smart man. He knew when to leave certain stories alone." I left a tip and walked out. Back at the cabin, the wind had picked up. Leaves swirled in tight circles near the porch steps, and the trees along the bank creaked like they were groaning in protest. That's when I saw it, something new. A trail. Not a man-made one. Not a deer path either. Just a muddy line carved through the tall grass, leading straight from the riverbank to the base of the cabin. Something had crawled up during the night. Something large. I followed the trail down toward the water's edge, shotgun in hand. The air changed as I got closer. It smelled like copper and old algae, like the bottom of a bucket left out too long. The river was still, too still, but something was waiting beneath it. I could feel it. I remembered the old rowboat tied up to a tree on the west end. Grandpa hadn't used it in years. The paint was flaking, worn or missing. But I found it. And beside it, stuck under a rotting tarp, I found something else. A lockbox. It was rusted shut, but inside were photos, water-damaged, sun-bleached, but still visible. They were all of the river. Different seasons. Different angles. But in every photo, no matter how far or how wide the shot, there was always a shape. Sometimes near the surface, sometimes beneath it, sometimes near children. And in one of them, dated 1996, I saw my own face, standing in the shallows, even though I was barely 4 years old at the time and had never gone near the water that summer. That night, I opened Grandpa's journal again. There was a folded page near the back I hadn't noticed before. On it, a single sentence. It doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to replace you. And beneath that, a crude hand-drawn map. A red X marked near the bend in the river. I decided I had to see what was buried there. The hike to the bend wasn't long, but it felt like walking into the lungs of something asleep. Every branch that snapped felt too loud. Every bird that didn't sing felt like a warning. I found the X. It was carved into a cypress trunk. And behind it, dug into the mud with care, I found a small bundle wrapped in canvas. Inside was a jawbone. Human. Teeth still intact. And a locket. I opened the locket. Inside was a faded photo of my mother. And a small slip of paper that simply read, "Not her." When I got back to the cabin, the door was open. The shotgun was gone. And so was my reflection. I know how that sounds, but I swear, when I looked into the hallway mirror, I saw nothing. No face. No outline. No movement. Just the room behind me. As if something had walked away wearing my skin. I ran my hands over my face, my chest, my arms. Still solid. Still me. But the mirror said otherwise. Then I heard it again. The knock. But this time, it came from inside the walls. And the voice that followed it, muffled, low, wasn't mine. Wasn't Grandpa's. It whispered, "You brought it back. You opened the river." I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. Every creak in the cabin walls sounded like footsteps. Every gust of wind across the tin roof made me flinch. And all the while, the mirror stayed empty. I covered it with a towel. Didn't help. Because now, every reflective surface, windows, water glasses, even the chrome kettle, showed that same absence. Whatever was in the river had taken my reflection, and I think it was trying to learn how to be me. The next morning, I drove out to visit an old man Grandpa once mentioned, Emmett Fletcher. He used to run a bait shop upriver, and according to the notes in the journal, Grandpa trusted him. His house was falling apart. A sagging porch, windows covered with sheets instead of curtains. But he answered the door, slow and cautious, like someone who expected every knock to be their last. "Henry's grandson," he said without a question. "Yes," I said. "How did you know?" He stared at me a long time. "Too long." "You look like him," he muttered. "But not always." I told him about the river, the face, the mirror, the photos, the journal. When I mentioned the locket and the note, "Not her," he went pale. Then he told me about the thing beneath the water. "They call it Ecolure," he said, whispering the word like it might overhear. Old name. Real old. Means something like that which learns by copying. Locals used to believe it lived in the bend. Came with the floods. Left with the droughts. But it's always here. It just waits. For what? I asked. Emmett's eyes narrowed. For someone worth wearing. He showed me something then, a photograph from the 1950s. 5 kids by the river, all smiling. One of them was my grandfather. And one of them looked exactly like me. Same face. Same hair. Same dimples. "That boy there," Emmett said, tapping the photo with a knotted finger. "He drowned 3 weeks after this was taken. They found his body in the trees, bloated, full of mud, but still walking." I stared at the photo. "I thought you said he drowned?" Emmett nodded. "I said they found his body." I left in a daze. The river had done this before. Many times. And it hadn't forgotten. Back at the cabin, I found the porch swing moving again. Slow, steady. Something breathing in the rhythm. This time, I didn't run. I stepped out with the shotgun and asked, half shouting, half pleading, "What do you want from me?" No answer. Just the wind. Until I heard my own voice say, "To come home." I whirled around. There, at the edge of the tree-line, stood another me, dripping wet, eyes too wide, mouth twitching like it didn't quite understand how to smile. It raised a hand and waved. I fired the shotgun. It vanished. No blood. No scream. Just an echo. And then stillness. Inside the cabin, things had changed. The locket, the one I'd found near the river, was gone. In its place, on the kitchen table, lay a piece of yellowed notebook paper, folded in half. It smelled like fish. I opened it. Inside was a single sentence in shaky cursive. If it wears you long enough, people forget you were ever real. I packed that night. Whatever game this was, I wasn't going to play it. I booked a hotel 2 towns over and planned to leave at sunrise. But when I went to the bathroom one last time, I made the mistake of lifting the towel off the mirror. My reflection was back, but it winked at me. I smashed the mirror. Drove all night. Didn't stop once. Didn't look back. But when I checked into the hotel, the clerk looked up, smiled, and said, "Didn't you already check in?" I froze. "No," I said. "I just got here." She frowned, tilted her head. "You were just here? Same name. Same face. You left your room key." And from behind the counter, she held up a key card with my name on it. Room 212. I took the stairs. Hands shaking, I walked down the hallway and stopped in front of 212. I listened. From the other side of the door, I heard the shower running and someone humming. It was my voice. I stood outside room 212 for a long time, trying to convince myself not to knock. But I did. 3 slow raps. My heart pounding like I'd swallowed a live bird. The humming inside stopped. And then, footsteps. Bare, wet. Moving toward the door. I stepped back, gripping the fire extinguisher from the wall. I wasn't sure what I planned to do with it. Maybe throw it. Maybe just run. The doorknob turned. But the door didn't open. Instead, a voice, my voice, came through the crack. "Come on, Mason. You're already inside." I ran. Left the hotel. Didn't look back. I don't remember driving. Just the lights blurring past, the thrum of tires, and the constant pressure of being watched. Like my shadow had decided to ride shotgun. I got back to the cabin just before dawn. It was different. The boards were rotting faster than they should. The moss on the roof had turned black. And the swing on the porch wasn't swinging anymore. It was swaying, like someone had leapt off of it in a hurry. Inside, the clock blinked 2:13. It had never worked. And yet it was the same time the knock first came. I opened the basement. Grandpa always said never to go down there. Not because of monsters or mold, but because things linger in low places. But now, something was calling me there. The air grew colder with every step down. The wooden stairs creaked, soft with rot. At the bottom, the floor was stone, slick, wet, like it had been submerged hours before. And in the corner, there was a hole. A perfect circle, maybe 3 feet wide. Freshly dug, even though the soil was packed with roots. From inside it, I heard breathing. Not human. Wet. Gurgling. Then a voice, high-pitched, like a child underwater. "Let me wear your skin. Just for a little." I staggered back up the stairs and locked the door behind me. And that's when I saw the photo album on the table. It hadn't been there before. Inside were pictures of my life, but all just slightly wrong. My 3rd birthday party, except the cake said Matt. My high school graduation, but my face was blurred. A woman who looked like my mother, but whose eyes were missing. On the last page, there was a Polaroid. It showed me sleeping. In the cabin. That morning. I tore the photo up and threw it into the fireplace. As it curled in the flames, I heard the sound of something moving outside, fast and low, like a body dragging through the grass. When I looked through the blinds, I saw something dart behind the woodshed. So I followed. Shotgun in hand, I crept around the side, heart hammering, sweat running down my spine. What I found wasn't what I expected. It was me, or close enough. But the skin was too loose. The mouth too wide. Its eyes were just wet holes. It whispered, "I can be better. I can love your friends. Your family. I can fix what you couldn't." Then it lunged. I fired once. Missed. It moved too fast, almost like water thrown from a bucket. It slithered behind the tree line and vanished. But in its place, lying in the mud, was something small. The locket. I opened it again. But this time, the photo inside was of me. And under the photo was another slip of paper. "You're not the first." That night, I didn't sleep. At 2:13 a.m., I heard the knock again. This time, it came from inside the house. I checked every room. Nothing. until I opened the pantry door and found the mirror leaning against the wall. My reflection was back again, but it was grinning, and it had something in its hand. A second key. Hotel room 212. The sun never really rose the next day. Just a dull gray glow smeared across the clouds, like someone had tried to erase the sky and gave up halfway. I packed what little I had. The locket, the journal, one change of clothes, and I left. But not for the city, not for safety. I went back to the river. I parked at the old trailhead near the bend. The same one marked on Grandpa's map. The same place where it first wore my face. The trees stood silent, branches arching inward like ribs. The water was still, unnaturally so, like a sheet of glass stretched tight. And in the center of it, standing waist deep, was me. It waved again. But this time, I didn't run. I waded in, shotgun held high. The water was ice cold, even in July. My breath came out in fog. As I got closer, the thing smiled. Its lips barely moved, but I heard its voice inside my head, like a chorus of whispers trying to sync up. Thank you for bringing me back. I was tired of wearing Henry. It stepped forward. Our faces nearly touched. Then it said something that stopped my heart. You were the first one born after the river took. I backed away. What does that mean? I asked. What the hell are you? It tilted its head, almost confused. I'm what's left. Of everything your family threw away. Regret. Memory. Guilt. I grew where the silence settled. I raised the shotgun and fired point blank. The echo rolled over the water like thunder. But when the smoke cleared, it was still there. Smiling. It didn't attack. Instead, it stepped inside me. Not physically. Not with hands or claws. It just leaned forward, and I felt something push into my chest. Like drowning in thoughts that weren't mine. Memories. Not mine. Faces I didn't know. Names I'd never heard. Miriam, Cal, Jonah, Ruth. Then I heard my grandfather's voice. You can't kill it, but you can bind it. Same blood, same burden. I dropped to my knees. The locket. I pulled it from my pocket, opened it, and whispered the only name I had left. Henry. The thing screamed, not out loud, but inside me, a tidal wave of sound. The water boiled. The trees shook. And the sky cracked with lightning that didn't belong in any weather. And just like that, it vanished. No splash. No trace. Only the river remained. And silence. I crawled back to shore and lay there for what felt like hours. I thought it was over. Until I looked in the water and saw a face that wasn't mine. It's been 6 days. I left the cabin. Burned what I could. Buried the rest. But things aren't right. People in town look at me wrong. Like they almost recognize me, but not quite. Mirrors show someone slightly off. A twitch in the wrong place. A blink too slow. And this morning, I got a letter in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo of me, standing in the river, still smiling. And on the back, scrawled in mud, "It's your turn now."